How often have you had an argument that really made sense, where afterwards you went like, thank goodness that I had this argument? How often have you been upset over the most unnecessary things and sat there afterwards and went, I'm so glad that today, all day, I was upset about this absolutely meaningless thing? And how often do we have those situations where we argue with somebody or we get frustrated at something, and then afterwards we just sit there and think to ourselves, why did I just do that? Living in Germany for the past 2 years has really reassured me that so many things that people are upset and angry about are so unnecessary. Sometimes they get mad at you if you accidentally step on the bicycle way, but you didn't know or you forgot a second, and they will scream at you and they will look angry at you. And this happens all day long. No matter where you are, people will find ways to be upset or to be angry or to start an argument. And in Australia, so many people just don't do that. If you would go to an Australian person, not all of course, but most of them, and say, hey, did you know that in Germany we get upset over XYZ? They would just look at you and go, are you crazy? You cannot be serious. That bothers you in the first place. And so that is why I know that there is 2 different ways to live your life. You can literally just not let most of those things bother you. It's as simple as that. Whatever the bus is late again, whatever somebody's standing on the bicycle track when I was just gonna drive through there, whatever I have to wait by the till, it just doesn't matter. And that is what I find so fascinating. It is your choice. It really is your choice. I have seen myself being completely frustrated and angry over everything because of emotional circumstances that I was going through. And I have seen myself being just completely unfazed by everything. It is an absolute pain, from what I've realized, to be constantly stressed and angry and annoyed, because you will always find things to be stressed about, to feel annoyed at, people to be angry at. You will find them. If you look for them, they are going to be everywhere. Or on the other hand, if you look constantly for things that just make you feel good and that make you happy, and when somebody's rude to you, you just think, you know what, maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they don't actually mean it that way. Those are all options that you can choose as well, and they make life so much nicer. Because imagine every time when somebody's rude to you, which is going to be often, because some people are just rude. And every time that happens, you get angry at them. And then all day you're like, why was this person so mean to me? Why were they so rude? And it goes on like that in your head, on and on and on and on. And you're just not letting go. Or you meet that person that was rude to you. You think, oh, maybe something just really bad happened in their life. I'm really just sending them love. I want them to feel happier tomorrow. And then you move on. And then your day is still fine after that. Think about coming to the end of your life and you realize that you have spent so much time being annoyed, being stressed, being angry, and really that was your choice in that moment. But now you can't go back. So now you know that, let's say 70% of your life, 80% of your life, you were constantly frustrated. I would just feel so mad at myself. I feel even mad at myself if I judge somebody just for a second. 5 minutes later, I'll be thinking to myself, why did I just not react nicely? But it's that analyzing that it takes, because by nature, I think we are just kind of focused on the negative, because back then that was a really good attentive mechanism that we would see, okay, stressful situations, where are they? How can we locate them? How can we make sure that they don't kill us? But that is just no longer the case anymore. So really focusing on the negative for us today does nothing but make you frustrated. That is why sometimes we just have to give ourselves a little kick in the bottom and go, you know what, I'm done. I'm done being negative. I'm done complaining all the time. I'm done being offended by every single person that crosses my path. And from now on, I'm just going to choose to be chilled out, to maybe realize that most of the things that happen, they're really not that bad after all. They really aren't. I'm telling you, because so many of us experience similar struggles. And of course, one life is going to be harder than the other. But funnily enough, you will most often see that those people who had to go through the worst times, they are often the people that are the most positive, because they know that all those little, small and irrelevant things just don't matter. And there's no time to be wasting a second on it. So rather than looking back one day and wondering why you spend 80% of your entire lifetime being frustrated, why don't you just instead look back one day and go, oh, thank goodness that day came where I realized that being frustrated all the time is actually really annoying, especially for myself. And that was the day I turned things around. And from that day forward, I was never annoyed at the most obnoxious things. I was never just angry at somebody simply because they were rude to me. I never started to argue with somebody just because there was a little difference in opinion. I never did those things, and therefore I lived a life that was so much happier than it could have been.